Let's get started. Today's word, relationships. Let's talk about it. Good morning, everyone. This is QCC, Quarantine Chronicles and Creations. My name is Dr. Joy, and I have on the line with me Erica. Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Hunt, and I am a high school teacher of 12 years, 9th through 12th grade, family and consumer science education under the career and technical education umbrella.
Okay, and welcome. So we're continuing with our conversation as far as relationships and commitment. And since there was a transition with the schools and the students, can you talk a little bit about how everything happened? So the maybe the weeks leading up to the quarantine and the mandatory, what was the atmosphere like? What was the environment like with your students?
I'm gonna say the word different. Throughout the course of the duration leading up until the pandemic closure of schools, students were starting to panic and asking a lot of questions, and of course making jokes. If you coughed, someone had the coronavirus, so to speak. We really did not know exactly what anything was going to look like. But we were just kind of waiting from the district to release different phases that we would go into. I do remember us having a staff meeting prior, and we did not think it was going to hit us so quickly. We were just planning to just follow, okay, if it happens at this particular phase, we'll go into instruction at home. If it happens at this particular phase, I think ideally we just did not think it was going to happen the way it happened and how it has impacted my students. We continued instruction as planned up until, well, we're still continuing as planned, but up until the actual closure, we were still learning, on a regular, platform and format. Nothing was different. I mean, we were still going to classes. My students that actually interned at elementary schools and childcare facilities, they actually had to stop. So it was up until they were going, and then we got like, oh, there's a case in North Carolina, and they canceled all internships. So that means that students outside of Grimsley and others like interns from colleges and universities could not come into our building, and our students could not go into other buildings, even being a Guilford County school student. So once that actually happened, I knew that it was about to be very, very difficult, or a new normal, as I would say. Um, Once we went into the phase where we actually had to do remotely learning from home, it was very difficult. I was a part of a team where I distributed laptops to students that were in need, that did not have access to technology or just did not have internet. And the schools have provided laptops and phones with hotspots to allow students to be able to navigate through Canvas or any other type of online learning platform that their classroom was using. Am I answering your question so far?
Yeah, you did. I didn't realize that the schools were giving laptops, so I think that was good. So, was there a
Yeah.
specific criteria that the students
Well,
had to
yeah.
meet to get the laptops?
So basically, it was very simple. Our principal, he's amazing. So he would call and do connect eds, and he would say, "Hey, for example, the school is distributing laptops. Any student that is in need can come up to the school between the hours of 10 and 2, for example, and the admin team will, distribute laptops." There was a handout or a form that parents did have to fill out with the students, ID number, in case they wanted to track them and retrieve the laptops back.
Okay.
But overall, they were, it was a very simple process. A lot of parents came and received the laptop for their students. The only issue was that if you had two siblings at the school, we will only distribute one. So
Okay.
that student will have to share with their sibling. But if the student had a sibling at the middle school, at our feeder middle school, they were eligible to get a laptop as well. But we did keep them for the high school, one laptop per high school family.
Okay, so for you, how difficult was it to transition since there was no longer a face to face? How long did it take you to get from face to face to online instruction? How was the transition to using whatever the platform was? Was it like Moodle or Blackboard, or how was that?
So we actually, well, let me just backtrack. I actually use something called Remind Message where I can notify my students of different things that are going on, reminders, things for them to stay in the know. And so that kind of opened up an avenue for me to already open up a line of communication outside of school. And I was also using an online platform called Schoology, or some people might call it Schoology. And it's basically a place where I can go and assign assignments for them to master the content in a different way. So can add a quiz on there, or I can put a discussion board question, some files and links, my syllabus. I can pretty much just market my class in a way that they can go back if they need to get some additional information on a review for a quiz or an assignment. And I would try to post even PowerPoints and handouts. So this actually didn't make it as difficult for me to transfer everything over because I was already kind of using the online learning tool. But I had not used Canvas. So I did have to do some supplemental trainings and workshops to kind of familiarize myself with that. So Canvas is the tool that we are all encouraged to use now, like district wide. But I still kind of from now and then encourage my students to go back to Schoology because that's where the syllabus and most of the PowerPoints were for the assignments that they're having to do right now. So it wasn't really difficult for me, but I do know some that kind of, are struggling. The only issue that I will say is that with the whole grading policy, it's kind of leaning back and forth and it's changing. We don't really know what to expect. Is it going to change tomorrow? Is it going to change next week? So students are, getting different messages from their friends and they're sending me messages asking, well, Miss Hunt, is this accurate? Do I need to do my assignments? And so I just encourage them. I say, hey, I don't tell them, no, of course not. Please don't do your work. So I say, so I tell them, I say, if it was me, I would continue as planned as that's what we're doing. And I would say, I trust that you'll make the right decision. Because ideally, they don't want to do any work if they know it's not going to be graded. So that's kind of the struggle now. But then I face an issue where some of my students, they may have a laptop, but they cannot access any Wi-Fi because they just don't have it in their home. And I know Spectrum was offering internet services for about 60 days to families to help kind of get through this hardship and or pandemic. But if your parents or if some of my students' parents had a cable bill that was past due or they owed Spectrum, they were not able to take advantage of that.
Oh,
And
wow. I
so,
didn't realize that.
yep. So I would upload assignments in Canvas and try to send them on Remind. And I would tell them, hey, keep me abreast of what's going on because I don't know everyone's, status of whatever the situation may be. I'm not sure of that. So I encourage them, keep me posted and I encourage them to get a laptop and just keep me in the know. And so I would open up, which I do it all the time, but I'll say, hey, you guys can reach out to me via Remind. You can send me an email. If you're on Canvas, send me a message and just let me know what's going on. And, out of all of my girls, I probably have about 7 or 8 that have not logged in at all. And so then that point, we just tell our administrator and we say, hey, so-and-so's not logging on. And I don't know if they've been able to get in touch with them, but yeah. So
So if they did not log on, by default, will they have to repeat the class or the course or the year? How does that?
If they were for seniors, I'll speak on a senior standpoint because I have a class that's just strictly for seniors. If my seniors were passing quarter 3 and they passed semester 1, that means they successfully passed a quarter 1 and 2 to determine their S1 or semester 1 grade. And quarter 3, they're done pretty much, so to speak. They really have geared towards encouraging seniors that did not pass S1 or quarter 3 to recover some of the assignments to master, and they were going to reach out to their teachers to take advantage of that so that they could get like I think it was a PC 19 they had to receive. So with that PC 19, it means that they were, pretty much completed and they mastered that content. But those that did not will have to get a passing grade to graduate.
Okay, so have you talked to any students like recently? Have they reached out to you and maybe just expressed concerns, maybe it's just a real challenge for them mentally with the change or anything. Have you had any conversation like that with any of your students?
I have, and I actually have a 14-year-old who's very expressive. So just listening to her and seeing the course load that they have, it's a lot. As a teacher, I feel like I'm not only just a high school teacher now, I'm an eighth grade teacher. And so I'm having to help her with some assignments that, seem to struggle because we have to take into consideration that some students have learning styles and they have learning barriers. And so without their teacher, they really need that learning. They need that module from their teachers. They need that guidance from their teachers because even being a mom and a teacher is the weirdest thing. But my daughter will always say, well, you're mom. Like she forgets that I'm a teacher also. And so now that I'm having to go into being an eighth grade teacher and a high school teacher, it's a lot. And I can only imagine some students are just checking out. And I kind of motivate my girls because I usually only have girl students. And this year I only had girls. And I say, girls, listen, I know it's a lot, but we're going to start this way. We are not going to get sucked under. Because if I tell them that and I encourage them, they know, okay, I know Miss Hunt's probably stressing out too, but we're not going to see it. And so I try to encourage them each week. I'll send them a discussion board and I'll just say, hey, girls, it's going to be a great week. Just do what you can. And at this point, I'm just saying, do your best because with my high school being traditional, and that means that we don't switch A day, B day, and we're not blocked. I had them all year long. And so it allows me the opportunity to get further ahead than some teachers that are on block schedule. So I had already mastered 5 objectives out of 6 before the pandemic. And so I'm like, thank God, I only have 1 unit left to teach them. So it was easier for me than some because we were ahead of the game. So I don't think they're stressing as much. But, I tell them, focus on your core classes and then log in every day and see if I have a discussion, which they're relatively common sense discussions because I don't want to put more on them than they can actually bear.
Okay. And that's good. So looking back, if this were to happen again and you were given maybe a month worth of time prior to, do you think would have done anything different? Or do you think that maybe the school system could have done something differently if they had more time?
I don't think I would have done anything different, but I think maybe the school would have, considering I don't think they even had a clue of what anything was going to look like. Because, we went from 2 weeks out to May 15th, and now it's like we're totally closed. And so I think that if they probably could do something different, they would, because now grading it's a huge mess. And we don't ever want students to feel like, oh, just check out. It's okay. You don't have to do any assignments.
Right.
Be behind next year. We don't want that. And so I think with all of the back and forth going on, it has caused students, or let's say one student hears from another student, oh, my teacher said I don't have to do any work. And that transpires all over social media to, oh, well, Miss Hunt, look at this. And then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to say? And so, it's been a mess. I'm going to just say it really has been. And I mean, I think it's just a lack of communication and not actually taking into consideration how this is affecting not only the community, but the student itself. And I sit here thinking like, well, thank God I don't teach math or English, because I can only imagine how behind they will be next year.
Without the face-to-face. I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how are you handling everything? How are you taking time out for yourself? What are you doing to kind of get back into a normal, whatever that is, routine? And how are you just, taking care of yourself, practicing self-love? What are you specifically doing?
So mentally, I'm going to be honest with you, I take it one day at a time. And we have to do a log every day of, working. So I have to log in every day that I've worked 7.5 hours to get paid. And that's 7.5. I'm assuming it can be whatever hours you would like. Ideally, you're probably supposed to be logged in at the start of the school day and be finished by, 4 o'clock, which typically is the end of the school day. Mentally, when I say I take it one day at a time, I have to. because if I don't, I'll go into brain overload, and it can get so overwhelming because we still have to take in consideration that, we're continuing as planned. So my PLCs that I would have, my professional learning community meetings that I would have with my department throughout the district, we still have to have those. Our weekly meetings or PLCs within our department at our school with our administrator, we still have to have those. So life is, when I say it's continuing as planned, I even received a mentor meeting, and I'm a mentor of some beginning teachers. And so I was getting emails that we had meetings for that. I thought, okay, great. So, I guess for me, like I said, I just take it one day at a time. But it's certain things I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that. I don't have time to do that. I got to focus on my seniors, for example, to make sure they pass. Or I got to focus on my student that's not doing any work that really can use 5 extra points to pass. So it's literally one day at a time, and a whole lot of prayer.
Well, definitely prayer. Definitely. Thank you. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out today to share in my vision. I appreciate all that you do as a teacher, as an instructor. I know I've taught online too, and I've always been online. So the bulk of my classes have always been online. So it wasn't a big adjustment for me. Just trying to reach out to the students, like you stated, to the ones they had kind of checked out to make sure that everything was okay with them. And I actually had not a lot, but quite a few of my students that were impacted, family members were impacted by the virus. So it's been a challenge for me too, as an college professor. But I appreciate everything that you are saying and everything that you've done for the students, especially the seniors, because I can't imagine not being able to walk across the stage now.
Yeah.
So.
And so now they are doing an online. Well, we did a walkthrough where they would come to their cap and gown stuff, but we couldn't touch them, couldn't hug them, and it was just like, hey. And so now they're going to do some type of graduation where they're going to have a graduation, but it's not going to be the same as an ideal graduation. So we'll see what that looks like later.
I can't even imagine, and my heart goes out to those students. My baby graduated last year, so we just barely made it. So
barely made it.
Thankful for that. Again, thank you for all that you do.
Course.
Thank you for being a part of my vision. And anyone who has any questions, it's my soror, Erica Hunt. Thanks again. And
of course.
This has been QCC Quarantine Chronicles and Creations. Again, my name is Dr. Joy. Enjoy your day. Students, remember to ask for help if you need it. There's nothing wrong with being confused or being frustrated. Go ahead and allow someone to be able to help you there. Students, please stay encouraged. I know that this time has been confusing and challenging and even at times stressful, but I do want you to please stay encouraged. I want you to also keep in mind that most instructors, most of your teachers, they want you to be successful. I am an instructor myself, and I want all of my students to be successful. So if you have a need or a desire, if there's something not going quite right or you have questions, feel free to reach out to your teacher, and or you can reach out to me. If I do not have the answer, I will find someone to help you. Here is my number. You can call or text me. And my email is joy@joylow.com. Or reach out to me on social media. Remember, I am here. Others are here. We all want you to be successful. This has been QCC, Quarantine Chronicles and Creations. My name is Dr. Joy.